You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Great to have you here today on this Training Thursday edition of the show. Excited to get into one of my favorite topics, and that is exercise and what type of exercise can be most effective in the time that you have in order to burn body fat and tone up those muscles. And I'll get into exactly what that means and what that looks like in just a second, but I was combing through some research, some previous research that I had wanted to spend a little bit more time looking over myself, and honestly, this is a great study that I think most people need to know about, especially with the new year coming and setting goals and basically looking at their schedule and saying, I only have 3 times a week. With those 3 times a week, what should I be doing? I mean, that's basically it. It's like you're saying opportunity cost. I could be out with my friends, my coworkers, with my partner, with my kids, but I need to also take care of myself and my own body. What should I be doing for exercise? You know, we're talking about the average person here. I'm going to get into the study specifics in a second. But what should I be doing in the time that I have to burn body fat and tone up my body? Now, I use the term tone up my body, and that's because I've been working with clients for many, many years. And we don't like to use the terms necessarily build muscle or whatever it might be, because there's a lot of people out there who get turned off by the term build up muscle. But in the truth, in the reality, you are not packing on slabs of muscle. I mean, most people who want that would love if that was the case. It's just simply not going to happen. It can happen in the beginning for an untrained individual, more so towards men who have more testosterone, but not as much for women. So please do not ever think that you are going to go into the gym and bulk up with all that muscle mass. It might happen to a 14, 15, 18-year-old untrained male, but unlikely for a lot of other people. And if you've been exercising for a while now, I mean, if you added a couple pounds of muscle in a month, you should be super excited about that. So here's what I want to look at, though. This study that I want to show went over body mass and fat mass and how to improve your overall body composition. That means the actual percentage of muscle you have, which is going to look more tone, versus the body fat that's covering up the muscle. So essentially, we have fat laid over a lot of our muscle. We call that subcutaneous fat. The subcutaneous fat is essentially fat underneath the skin, so right below the skin and above the muscle. So if we're able to lose that body fat, well, we look more tone because we get to actually see the tone of the muscle. So that's what I want to go over today. I've gone over similar studies in the past, but what I'm hoping is that when I give you this study today, I can point back to it on future podcasts, just basically let you know this is the way to do it. And a lot of coaches, personal trainers, integrative health practitioners have known this for some time. When you look at the research, but also simply, let's say you never read the research, okay, but you worked as a personal trainer, you would eventually see that all of this holds true. Yes, of course, this makes sense. So this study was set up on essentially untrained individuals. What does that mean? Well, on average, they worked out less than 2 times per week. Typically, it was somewhere around like 1 or none times per week. Average age, about 47 years old. And the number of times that they actually exercised was supposed to be 3. But, you know, again, the best laid plans doesn't always happen. So across the group, it was somewhere around 2.26. I'm going to leave up the study for you. So I'm going to link it to you. Just head on over to stephencabral.com/1406. And that's where I'll leave the study. It's a great study. I mean, it really is. I think it's a well-done study. Was it a huge study? No. But it was done with 119 participants. But they had a couple thousand people, I believe, that they selected from. Let's see, 2,661 that applied. They didn't meet the criteria. They narrowed it down to 484, excluded 250 based on other criteria, and this was done at Duke University. So they selected this to be very unbiased. They kept everyone on about, if you're wondering how much food they ate, about 2,000 calories per day. And what their goal was to look at this over 8 months. So, this is why it's important to me. So why do I care about this? Is that I want to make sure that it's not just a super short-term study, because there's a lot of things we can do. So, let's be fair. When someone does our functional medicine detox, they might lose 5 to 10 pounds in a week. And then from days 7 to 14, if they're doing the 21-day detox, that second week, they could lose, let's just say, the first week, 5 pounds or so. Second week, they could lose up to 10 pounds. So now you're up to 10 pounds weight loss in 2 weeks. And third week could be up to 15 pounds. So we've had many people lose 5 to 7 pounds easily within a week. Typical average is just over 5 pounds. And they could lose another 4 or 5 pounds after that, and then maybe like 2-3 pounds or so after that. So here's the thing, though. If we did a study for a week, it might look like, well, every week we could help someone lose 5 to 7 pounds. That's not the case. So the truth is, you need to look at the whole study. What we tell people is we're going to help you lose up to 15 pounds in 3 weeks. Yes, some people lose more, some people lose a little less. It depends on how much you have to lose, and that's the great thing about it. It actually works with you in your own body. But then after that, we look to lose about 1% of your body weight per week as we transition off of that detox, the equilibrium nutrition detox. And what we do then is we start to ease more carbs back in, and we ease back in other lifestyle factors, but that's even without exercise. But to be fair, you're not going to keep losing at the same rate that you would during those first 21 days. So after that, you lose about 1% of your body weight. It's simple math. If you weigh 160 pounds, that's 1.6 pounds a week on average. If you weigh 200 pounds, that's 2 pounds a week. That's why on average, most people can safely lose 1 to 2 pounds a week as like maintenance weight loss. Like once you start with the bulk of the program the first month, after that, look to lose about 1% per week. So it's held up. It's held up forever. And it's an easy, safe way to really keep that weight off too, like to be able to maintain that, even with a cheat meal per week or a flex meal, whatever you'd like to call it. So this study was done over 8 months. That's why I mentioned that. Really, it's nice to see a longer term study. I think 8 months is plenty of time. So I didn't just read the highlights from this. I really dug into this study. I looked at all the different graphs, but they broke people up into 3 groups. That's why this matters. Okay, so they have a resistance training group. What did they do in the resistance training? Not a bad program, not a great program, but not a bad program. So let's go over what that actually was. So I read in here, and I'm reciting from memory now, but it was supposed to be 3 days a week. On average, they got in there, well, just under. Actually, that wasn't bad. About 2.53, not too bad. And what they were doing was 8 different machines. Now, of course, would I have loved that to have been a dumbbell or kettlebell or some other type of squat, deadlift? Yeah, of course, absolutely. I bet they would have done even better with more compound free weight, or I would just say more compound movements. Get away from the machines. But anyway, it's okay. So we're looking at 8 different machines, 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps each. That's pretty good. That's actually a fair amount of volume. Let's say the average was 10 reps, and we're looking at 8 different machines, and we're looking at the 3 days a week, 3 sets each. So, well, if we 3 sets of 10, great. So we're looking at 30 repetitions, and we're doing 8 different machines. Like, that's a lot of volume for the workout. That is more than I typically say. I'm looking at, usually for my workouts for people, between 5 and 8 exercises maximum, and even a lot of the time 3 to 4 depending on the actual workout itself. So I'd say the sweet spot for me for designing a program is typically right around that 6 exercises, 5 to 6 for sure. But again, this is even more volume. So in terms of volume, there was enough. There was certainly enough. And then the actual aerobic training, so that was the next group. The aerobic training was on average about the equivalent to 12 miles of jogging per week. So again, that's pretty significant as well. You look at that over 3 days, it's 4 miles or so a day. 4 days, you're looking at 3 miles or so a day. So a good amount of volume for each group. Again, about 2,000 calories per day. So in my opinion, they certainly were not on a low-calorie diet. 2,000 calories for a naturally sedentary based person, not really a whole lot of calories. I mean, I should say not really too low on calories. If you think about a reality show like The Biggest Loser, they typically put women on 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day. That's what it was at least previously. It could be different now, so I don't want to quote that specifically. And men might be somewhere around 1,600 to maximum of 2,000. So this was definitely, I don't think, too low caloric wise. So what did they do? They had a resistance training group that I just shared with you, and they had an aerobic training group. So they looked at those, but I love that they added one more group. And one more group was this. They doubled it. They did aerobic plus resistance training. So we got to compare the results now of fat loss. This study was really based around fat loss over the 8-month period of time. And I want to share that with you right now. Again, because you might not ever decide to read the study. That's okay. But when you look at it, we actually found, and this is why, and I want to go into why I'm even sharing this with you today. Okay. So the group that lost the most body fat mass, was actually the aerobic training group, the group that did the equivalent to 12 miles or so per week. So pretty interesting to look at that the aerobic group, and this is not interval training, by the way, this is just kind of going out for a jog or a longer bike, that group lost the most amount of body fat. Now, what they don't say in the study, and this is very interesting, but what they don't say in the study is this, is it was about 1.4 pounds more body fat loss than the resistance training group. But again, what they don't state in the study, which might be a little misleading, is that the resistance training group added about I'm not going to even estimate here, 1.09 pounds of lean body mass, okay? And the aerobic training group actually lost an insignificant, but a small amount, 0.1, so they lost a little bit of lean body mass. So this is super interesting to me because, yes, the aerobic group, they lost a little bit more body fat. They absolutely did. And I'm not going to deny that. And I want to go into that in just a second, why I actually recommended that. Started recommending it more about 6 years ago in my programs where I got away from it for about 10 years or so. And then the lean body mass, sure, they didn't lose as much body fat, no doubt about it. But they gained a little bit of lean body mass, the muscle that we're talking about. Why does this matter? Okay, it matters to a huge degree if we extrapolate the results 10 years, 20 years, 30 years out into the future. Because the aerobic training group is going to have those diminishing returns. And here's why. The aerobic training group is going to continue to lose muscle mass, especially with age. Remember, if you're not training about twice a week with resistance, it could even be your own body weight, but you really should add some weight. Bands would be okay. Yeah, I mean, you really should add a little bit. Honestly, you should. Because all the research that I go back to, body weight matters, so for sure. But once you increase, like once you're good with your own body weight, you have to go to that next level. Because you have to create adaptive change. And I've done a podcast on that. You can just type in SAID principle at stephencabral.com/podcast. SAID, specific adaptations to impose demands. So, and they actually did that in the study. They showed people progressing. So it was a decent study with resistance training. I think that a lot of good personal trainers out there could get their clients much better results, but I won't go too deep into that for right now. So here's the thing though. It really teaches us a few things. And that is what the last group showed. This is why I started doing this about 6 years ago. I added really to a far greater degree. I'm practicing functional medicine. I'm working with type 2 diabetics. I'm looking at blood sugar in the morning, and I'm looking at total fat loss. What I found was those people that were adding in some jogging or some biking, some actual aerobic, not just intervals, every single week, 2-3 times a week, were actually getting in better shape than their counterparts who were doing resistance training alone. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do resistance training and you keep your heart rate going, it's pretty much the best of all worlds. No doubt about it. But there is something to be said for oxidizing body fat at a higher degree with aerobic-based training. And it does seem, and I'm going to go more into the research on this, it does seem, especially from all of the graphs and all of the glucose levels that I run in my practice with people in my practice to make sure that we're optimizing blood sugar, that those that do aerobic training have a better job and do a better job at keeping their glucose to a more normal, healthy blood sugar level. part of that is that they're able to really optimize it, really use it, soak it up, actually use it as fuel. Whereas with resistance training, we may be spiking higher levels of adrenaline, norepinephrine, cortisol, and actually potentially pulling more glucose in the system, potentially. But anyway, I'm not going over that today. That's not today's argument. It was this. We saw in the last group in this study actually able to put on almost the same amount of lean body mass as the straight resistance group, and they were able to lower their fat mass by almost the same equivalent. Actually, they dropped their fat mass by an extra pound. Almost an extra pound, 0.78. So when we look at that, we're saying, okay, this group that did aerobic and resistance training, they lost the body fat and put on the muscle mass. They were the ones that got in the best shape. Now, when you look at the overall results for this study, they're saying this is the recommendation. This is why you have to be careful with your source. You have to be careful with your source. The study is good. The recommendations that came out of it, they're not real world. It's lab-based. It's people working in a lab. It's not real world. Here's what they said. If you're looking to lose body fat, we recommend aerobic training only. And this is, again, so short-sighted because when you begin to look at, and they even talked about it, they theorized, they don't know why. Why was the resistance training group able to burn body fat as well when they didn't do any cardio? And they weren't doing a metabolic workout. Well, the reason is, and again, they hypothesize. They can't come out and say that to you. But what they're saying is that it will increase your overall metabolic rate. It will burn more calories when you are even at rest. And so it goes into a bunch of different statements around there, different conclusions of how this is possible. But the bottom line is this, is that we already have great results. We don't have to choose one or the other. We could do a resistance training workout that keeps that heart rate elevated so it could mimic a little bit like aerobic-based training, or we could do what I talked about on a previous podcast and what I've been doing lately, which is 20 minutes of cardio and 20 minutes of anaerobic-based training. And if you get a little bit more time, one day a week, you could do a longer cardio-based workout if you wanted to, 40 minutes or so, 30, 40 minutes. So you can play with the workouts a little bit and get just as good of results. Now, they said, well, here's the thing. This is exactly what they said. Do aerobic training, you're going to lose more fat mass. Again, short-sighted, because you're going to start to lose muscle mass over time, which is going to lower your metabolism, which is actually not going to allow you to burn as much body fat. So that's important to look at that. Okay. The other part is this. Without resistance training, well, the issue is bones begin to break down, muscle mass begins to break down, you lower hormones faster, all of these things that we need for a good, healthy metabolism. Plus, you're better able to utilize those calories, not just at exercise. Okay, now they made that recommendation because they said people only have so much time. Well, that's not a very good reason to give that recommendation, because they had their people do their workout, 8 machines, 3 sets times 8 to 12 over a longer period of time. You could absolutely condense those workouts like we do and many others do. And we've been doing it since, well, forever. I've been doing this for sure full time since 2000. And so when you look at that, this is what we do. And again, I've talked about this on many previous Training Thursdays. We simply do trisets or a circuit of 3 of the exercises back to back to back, rest, okay, about a minute and a half or so to 3 minutes. Repeat those 3 exercises and do it one more time if you want for 3 total sets. Then you move on to the next 3 exercises. Or if you crunch for time, you do 5 exercises in a row, upper, lower, core, something like that. It doesn't have to be just that. I talk about this in my book, A Man's Guide to Muscle and Strength. It's for women too. It's my publisher wanted to name that, but it's definitely for women. We use the same programs. So that's what you can do, and you can condense that. You can do a circuit, which will take about 5 minutes, do about 3 minutes to 5 minutes recovery, do it again. What are you looking at? 20 minutes of a workout. That's what I'm doing now, and I'm actually getting great results. I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. That's not a bodybuilder's workout, but I want to keep myself in good shape, so that's what I'm doing. Then you can get your cardio in as well. Can you do 3 miles in 30 minutes? I bet if you work at it, you could. Okay, now you're working out 3 times a week. Well, you're at 9 miles a week. Okay, what if you added one more day? You'd be at your 12 miles. You can do that. You can do this all in 40 to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, and that's what it recommends, 3 times a week. So again, we're all in agreement Just sometimes you have to be careful. This study actually states that, but if you looked at the study's recommendations, you'd say, oh, I should just do cardio, and you'd be like every single person I see at the gym year after year, hoping that continuing to run on that treadmill is going to get them better results when it's not. Every year you will get less results on that treadmill, unless you are combining that with the resistance training as well. So I'm telling you right now, whether you love to bike, you love to do your cardio, whatever it might be, good. Keep it in. It works. I am unbiased. I'm telling you, yes, it works. But don't forget, 2 to 3 times a week, 2.5 times in this study, but ideally 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, of resistance-based training. It does not have to be long. You can get it done in a 20-minute workout, and you can absolutely get great results. So hopefully this was helpful. And remember, as you're looking at new programs for the new year, do not go it alone with just cardio. You can start with even just one set of resistance training. You can use your own body weight, but you need to have it in there. If you want to create a long-lasting metabolic change that will improve all the functions of your body, including your hormones, you want to have resistance training in there, okay? Absolutely. Men and women start to lose that muscle mass in their late 20s, and they lose, on average, about 5 pounds per decade, especially women. So we need to make sure we are out there, that we are getting ourselves into great shape. It doesn't have to take a long time. Remember, just dedicate, I would say this, 1 hour, 3 days a week. If you're not doing anything now, 1 hour, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Just get it in, block it into your schedule. Your whole workout will take 40, 45 minutes maximum, which is exactly what we've been doing for 20 years. And that's going to get you the results that you want. And then you combine that with a good nutrition program. Watch out. You're going to be getting those results you've always wanted. So hopefully this has been helpful. Do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.